Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 13th September 2017. Sorry for the delayed upload today, and let's start the discussion. Time for course correction by Rangarajan. You know that India's growth path is declining. Especially this quarter, the first quarter of 2017-18 financial year, has shown a growth of 5.7%, which is less than China. Last year itself, we have celebrated that our growth has crossed China, and now the things have gone back. What might be the reason for this? So, a few economists talk about demonetization and destocking of goods by the traders because of GST. It means as GST is going to come up, they want to sell off all the existing goods rather than buying the goods, which has killed the demand in the market. Problem is much bigger than this. So these sporadic events probably have affected the growth temporarily, but the systemic problems still exist for Indian economy. One is, you need to have savings. These savings have to be converted into capital, and this capital shall be converted into investment. And once the investment comes in, production increases, and it leads to growth. Along with this growth, you also have employment opportunities. This is how it happens. So, in India, the savings rate is decreasing. Capital formation is decreasing. Investments are decreasing. Though FDIs are on rise, FDIs are only coming into the existing sectors, not to the new areas or new companies. The savings rate is on a gradual reduction. It's close to 27% now. It shows a steep fall. And second aspect is the credit growth across the banks is also very low. And it clearly shows that private sector is not interested towards investments. If you take the engines of the growth, one is export promotion or export growth. So due to lack of export demand across the world, this engine also stopped functioning. And then consumer demand, to an extent demonetization has affected the consumer demand. And public and private investments. Public investment is relatively stable, but the problem is with the private investment. Because you know, balance sheet syndrome, twin balance sheet syndrome. In this twin balance sheet syndrome, we have the problems of both. What I mean is, the banking sector is not willing to lend, and private sector is not willing to invest. And there is policy paralysis, which has stalled many of the projects that have bled the most of the private sector entities. And after this, we also have another aspect. Private investment will only grow when there is a favorable economic environment. But that appears to be missing now. So if we have to create that, we have to provide the banking sector a stimulus. Recapitalization of the banks is very critical at this point of time. And along with this, certain investor like FDI movements, etc., these also has to be properly taken care of, and liberalization process has to continue. And small and medium enterprises today, these are becoming the engines of growth. Either you take UK, Germany, they are more and more talking about the small and medium enterprises. India also shall work towards that. So this is what the article of Rangarajan talks about. An alliance on track. If you take, it talks about Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail, which India is building with the help of Japan. Japan has given a soft loan at 0.1% of interest for 50 years on this project. So what are the challenges with the high-speed rail? Now, Chinese high-speed rail is relatively cheap, but Japanese high-speed rail is safe and accurate, and its track record is much better than Chinese. And there is a geostrategic angle to this. We want to move close to Japan rather than to China. So, India is going forward with the Japanese high-speed rail. Now, if you take the profitability of the high-speed rail, it depends upon the density of the population living in that area and how many people are going to use that. in Taiwan, to an extent in Indonesia, Thailand, everywhere, high-speed rail did not yield the profits for the reason that the population using them are not abundant. Only in China, between Tokyo and Osaka, which is a very or else dense populated area, their high-speed rail was very much successful. So in this context, India also has to look forward for technology, ecological balance or ecological improvement from yesterday's article towards high-speed rail. But profitability is not expected to be much high on this. And then slow creep. So this is about petrol and diesel prices. You know that they are deregulated. As they are deregulated, market will determine them. As the market forces of supply, demand and supply play an important role, obviously, as prices in the international markets have come down, we also expect the consumer to get the petrol and diesel at a lesser price, but that is not happening. Now, if you take Economic Survey of 2015-16, Mr. Arvind Subramanian has stated it this way: India is moving from carbon subsidies to carbon tax. What he mean by carbon tax over here? Previously, petrol and diesel, these were subsidized by India. Now, India is imposing punitive taxes on the same. And oil petroleum prices, they also determine the growth of the economy. They are the critical energy ingredients which will determine that. So, in India, the crude price rises, they are not, the taxes are many times higher compared to the original prices, excise and VAT duties. These crude oil prices are also kept out of the scope of GST. So if we are going by the market model, it is better transfer the benefits to the people rather than governments making themselves enriched with fall in crude oil prices. The Shattered Dreams, this article, it is about recent Trump's decision not to recognize the children of illegal immigrants as the citizens of the country. Obviously, they are not going to have university admissions, livelihoods, etc. And where they have to be deported, also there will be no clarity. So in this context, US has to enact a comprehensive immigration law which can provide for predictability of the manpower to the industry in United States of America. That's what this article suggests for. Now let's get into the next article. It is about Afghanistan foreign minister's interview. Now, President Trump has announced his Afghan foreign policy, or Afghan policy we can put it as. What are the important points over there? It is not coming with any timeline. It means till the problem solved, American troops are expected to stay. And second thing is, their task is clearly specified. That is to remove the safe havens for terrorism and to fight the terrorism on the Afghan soil. Third, it talks about the regionalistic approach. It means Pakistan, Iran, China, Russia, India, all these have to come together to find a solution and to create a peaceful Afghanistan. These are the points central to it. But however, this regionalistic approach which Mr. Trump has spoken about, it was not very clear because he was strong in words against Pakistan. He was persuasive of India. At the same time, he also said India has a trade surplus with US and it is gaining a lot and it shall reciprocate that by investing or by spending money in Afghanistan. And the third thing is, Russia said it is kind of a dead letter. And China wants a stable Afghanistan for its One Belt, One Road initiative. But to what extent it wants to work with the United States of America is a question. They see Pakistan as more reliable partner rather than working with the other countries. And Trump and Iran, the fire between them is clearly known. So that's why we cannot say there is a clear regionalistic approach on cards for the Afghanistan problem. Let's get into the news page. The checkmarks to be made as citizens. These checkmarks are the immigrants, illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. There was a lot of resentment in the states of Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh against them. Now, Government of India is considering to provide them a citizenship status. without any land rights in Arunachal Pradesh. Because land is an issue of contention, and Arunachal Pradesh people, they don't want to give away their land to the outsiders. And then India slams inaccurate UN reports. UN Human Rights Commissioner, he has raised issues such as human rights in Jammu and Kashmir, India's non-acceptance of Rohingyas, and also he was critical about violence caused by the cow vigilantes. So in this context, India stated that these are isolated events which are not having a definite pattern, and there was no role for the state in that. So these observations are based on inaccurate facts. That's what Government of India wanted to convey. Now, Viswajit scheme, a non-starter. What is this scheme? IITs have to be converted into global institutions of excellence. For that, for top IITs, some 2,000 crore rupees is supposed to be spent, and this program was Viswajit, and it did not move forward. And then, if you're coming to the last page, the British lawmakers push for Sikh census data. Now, Sikhs will soon be identified as a separate ethnic group in United Kingdom if this happens. So, in the last page, I gave you the notes on this particular topic. So, this will be available to you at likes.in/civils prep on that particular website. Thank you very much and all the best.